The night the world realized Freen and Becky were no longer just rising stars, but unstoppable forces began long before the cameras rolled and before the stage lights even switched on. It started quietly, behind closed doors, with the two of them standing side by side backstage, unaware that history was about to stamp their names into a new era of global GL dominance. Fans around the world had been waiting, expecting maybe one award, maybe two, but nobody, and absolutely nobody, expected what happened next. What unfolded became a whirlwind of victories, reactions, emotions, and a wave of pride so powerful that it took over the entire internet. Freen stood calmly at first, hands clasped, her signature gentle confidence radiating from her without effort. Beside her, Becky kept adjusting the hem of her outfit, pretending not to be nervous but completely failing to hide how her heart was pounding. Their team kept whispering updates, the categories they were nominated for, the odds, the fan votes, social media trends skyrocketing by the minute. And every time a staff member said, "You two are leading right now," Becky would glance at Freen, as if silently asking, "Are we really doing this again? Are we really standing on the edge of something massive?" Freen would always answer with the same calm smile, the kind of smile that said she already believed it. She always believed in them, in their work, their chemistry, and in the connection they had built with fans over the years. Freen was steady, Becky was explosive, and together, they were a storm the industry could no longer ignore. When the event began, the energy inside the venue shifted instantly. The cameras followed them everywhere, their red carpet entrance sending shockwaves across social platforms. Fans watching online couldn't stop talking about how the two of them walked like they owned the year. There was no rivalry, no tension, just two women completely aligned, moving like a team that understood what it meant to grow together, fight together, and rise together. The first award of the night came earlier than expected. Best Global On-Screen Chemistry. Some predicted another pair would take it. Others said it would be a close fight. But the moment the presenter opened the envelope and paused, people already knew. The tone in her voice changed. The crowd held its breath. And then it happened. The presenter read their names. Freen and Becky. The venue erupted so loudly that even the microphones struggled to contain the roar. Screams, cheers, applause. It felt like fireworks blasting indoors. Freen froze in shock, looking at Becky with disbelief, while Becky's hand flew to her mouth like she couldn't process what she just heard. Their eyes met in the purest, most emotional moment, the kind of moment fans replay over and over because it wasn't staged. It wasn't perfect. It was real. They walked to the stage hand in hand, and even though they tried to maintain the usual composure expected of stars, their emotions betrayed them in the best way. Becky's voice cracked first when she said thank you. Freen stepped in to steady her. When Freen spoke, her voice echoed with a deep sincerity that touched everyone watching. She thanked the fans, their directors, their families, and then she said one line that broke the internet for the entire night. "We grew because we held on to each other." That sentence alone trended in 6 countries. But the night was far from over. The second win came swiftly. Best International Fanbase, a category that didn't even technically belong to them alone, but the numbers spoke louder than anything. Freenbeck supporters had broken voting records by a margin so large that event organizers had to release a statement confirming the results twice. As the camera zoomed in on them, Becky covered her face in disbelief while Freen kept shaking her head with a smile that tried and failed to hide how touched she really was. Fans online began posting comments like, "This is their era, no one is beating them anymore," and back-to-back legends. Memes, edits, reaction videos, the internet transformed into a festival dedicated to them. News outlets across Asia began picking up the story, highlighting not just their wins, but how they carried themselves with grace, humility, and unity. Even journalists at the venue started calling the night the Freen Becky sweep. But the biggest award, the one nobody thought they would take home, was still waiting. The final category of the night, Asian Icons of the Year. A title reserved for artists whose influence, popularity, and cultural impact surpassed every expectation. The nominees were huge names, actors with long careers, artists with millions of followers, but the whispers backstage kept repeating the same rumor: Freen and Becky were leading. The votes, the engagement, the buzz, it was unmatched. The presenter opened the envelope slowly, almost teasing the crowd. The room felt tense. The lighting dimmed. The pause dragged on long enough to make Becky clutch Freen's arm. And then the announcement came like a thunderbolt. The winners were Freen and Becky. It didn't matter that the award was designed for one person. The organizers decided to give it to both of them together because their influence wasn't individual. Their rise was shared. A partnership. A legacy being built side by side. The audience shot to their feet, giving them a standing ovation that lasted more than a full minute. Freen's steps faltered for a second, overwhelmed. Becky turned to her, touched her back gently, and guided her forward. For once, Freen was the one needing support. And for once, Becky was the anchor. Their acceptance speech became the highlight of the entire event. They spoke about representation, about their gratitude, about how they never expected their journey to reach this scale. Becky nearly cried again, but Freen placed her hand over Becky's to steady her. Fans watching from home felt like they were witnessing something more than wins. They were witnessing a defining moment in their careers. After the show ended, the energy didn't die down. Reporters rushed to get interviews. Trending hashtags buried all other trends. Fans camped outside just to cheer as they stepped out. And despite being exhausted, Freen and Becky made sure to greet everyone, sign autographs, and wave at their supporters until security gently pulled them away. Back in their car, away from the noise, Becky leaned back, staring at the trophies lined up beside them. She whispered, half in disbelief, half in joy, "Did that all really happen?" Freen looked at her with a soft smile and said, "It happened because we gave everything." And they gave everything back. The night marked a turning point, not just for their careers, but for the entire industry. GL content was no longer niche, no longer underestimated. Freen and Becky shattered the ceiling and built a new platform where representation, talent, and authenticity shine brighter than anything else. Their back-to-back wins weren't just victories. They were messages. They were proof. They were milestones. In the days that followed, brands lined up with offers, magazines released special editions, and networks began discussing new opportunities for them as a duo. Interviews flooded their schedules. Their social media numbers skyrocketed. Fans across continents organized celebration events, fan projects, and full-scale global trends that lasted days. But what touched people the most wasn't the trophies or the recognition. It was how Freen and Becky looked at each other during the entire night. Like two people who started as colleagues, became partners, and evolved into something deeper, a bond built on trust, respect, and shared dreams. They didn't just win awards. They won hearts. They won history. And as the world watched them rise higher than ever before, one thing became clear: this was only the beginning. The unstoppable era of Freen and Becky had officially begun. And the world wasn't ready for how far they were about to go. Freen and Becky stood backstage, still breathless from the roar of the crowd, their trophies reflecting the bright lights around them. Neither of them had fully processed what had just happened. 2 major awards in one night, both earned through months of pressure, sleepless nights, and a level of chemistry that the industry kept calling rare, electric, and once in a generation. But in this moment, it wasn't the trophies that made their hands shake. It was each other. As they walked down the narrow hallway away from the stage, Becky kept glancing at Freen, as if trying to confirm that this wasn't a dream. Freen noticed it and gently nudged her. "You're staring," she whispered. Becky cleared her throat, trying to hide how overwhelmed she was. "I'm just trying to believe this is real." Freen smiled, a soft, knowing smile that only Becky ever saw. "It's real. We earned this. Together." Their team rushed over with congratulatory hugs, but even in the chaos, Freen and Becky stayed close, their shoulders brushing with every step. It wasn't intentional. They simply moved as if tethered by something invisible, something instinctive. Everyone around them noticed it. Some whispered about it. Others smiled knowingly. The bond between them had become impossible to ignore. When they finally slipped into their waiting van, the doors sliding shut behind them, silence filled the space. Not an awkward silence, just the kind that comes when your heart is full. Becky leaned her head back, letting out a long breath. "I thought last year was big," she said softly. "But this feels different." Freen turned toward her, her voice low but steady. "Because this time, it feels like the world sees us for who we really are. Not just as co-stars, not just as a duo, but as partners." Becky's eyes softened. She didn't say anything, but she didn't need to. Freen could read her better than anyone. Later, at the after party, music thumped through the speakers, cameras flashed nonstop, and the energy was wild. Yet Freen and Becky moved through the room like they were in their own world. Every time one of them stepped away for a moment, an interview here, a photo request there, the other would glance around, subtly checking for them. It wasn't possessiveness. It was habit. It was comfort. It was care. At one point, Becky returned from a quick media stop to find Freen in a corner speaking to a director who had been trying to cast her for months. But Becky noticed something. Freen didn't look interested in the conversation at all. Her eyes kept drifting toward the crowd, searching for someone, searching for her. Becky walked up quietly, and as soon as Freen saw her, her entire face lit up in a way she never allowed the cameras to capture. The director raised his eyebrows. "You two really are inseparable," he joked. Freen didn't respond to that, but Becky laughed politely. When the director moved on, Freen leaned in slightly. "Where did you go? I thought I lost you in the crowd." Becky rolled her eyes but smiled. "You didn't lose me. I was 2 steps away." Freen shook her head. "Too far." It was a simple exchange, but to anyone watching closely, it said everything. Hours later, when the after-party had wound down and only a handful of close staff members remained, Becky pulled Freen aside into a quieter corner of the venue. Her voice was gentle. "Do you realize we just made history?" Freen looked at the trophies in their hands. "I do. But you know what I realized even more?" Becky raised an eyebrow, curious. Freen took a small step closer. "We didn't get here because we were lucky. We got here because we believed in each other even when the industry didn't." Becky blinked, her eyes suddenly glossy. "You always say the right things at the wrong times," she whispered, trying not to get emotional. Freen laughed softly. "For once, let me say them at the perfect time." The room around them felt warmer suddenly, quieter, almost intimate. Becky reached out and touched Freen's hand, not dramatically, not for show, but out of instinct. Freen didn't pull away. Instead, she gently laced their fingers together, as if it was the most natural thing in the world. Their manager walked in, saw the moment, and immediately stepped back out, giving them space. Because everyone who worked with them knew, whatever Freen and Becky were building, it was bigger than fame, bigger than awards, bigger than the industry itself. It was something authentic, something unexplainable, something unbreakable. As they left the venue in the early hours of the morning, the sky just beginning to lighten, Becky looked over at Freen and said softly, "You know, tonight feels like the start of something even bigger." Freen nodded, squeezing her hand. "It is. Because from here on, everything we do, we're doing it side by side." And for the first time since their names started trending worldwide hours earlier, Becky finally let herself smile without holding back. "Then let's make the world watch." The door of the van closed behind them, the city lights flickering as they drove away. And though the night was ending, for Freen and Becky, a new chapter, one more powerful, more fearless, and more unstoppable than anything before it, was just beginning.